Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing another bookshelf tour, but I'm talking about some of the special editions that I have. I have far too many to go through all of them in one video, so I'll just focus on a few today and talk to you about them and why I've got special editions and why they're important to me. So growing up, one of the first fantasy series that I ever read was the Earthsea novels by Ursula Le Guin. Now when I was a child it was the Earthsea trilogy, but over the years other books came out and other collections and short stories, and they bundled them together and so on. So now there's there's six Earthsea books. So it began in the 1960s with A Wizard of Earthsea. Obviously I wasn't around then to read it. I'm not that old, you cheeky so-and-sos. But I read this when I was very young, 8-10 years old, and Gollancz have started putting out these beautiful, they're quite small, you know, as big as my hand, hardback editions. And they're absolutely beautiful. They're not that expensive either, but they also have some lovely kind of illustrations in. You get lovely pictures of obviously the map of the world. You get some lovely paintings and drawings of different things. You get some coloured drawings like these. They don't have sprayed edges, but the kind of beautiful foiling on the front. So obviously Wizard of Earthsea is the first book. Excuse me. The Tombs of Atawan is the second. The Farthest Shore is the third one. Now this is where I thought the story basically ended, and I thought, well, that's it, there's no more. I read these three, and then years later I saw there was a fourth book, and it was suddenly the Earthsea Quartet, and I then read it, but I haven't read it in a long time, and this is Tahanu. Yeah, Tahanu, which is book 3. Then some more stuff came out even later on. Here you go, you got Tales from Earthsea. These are the short stories, again with some illustrations by Charles Fess. Beautiful, all in the same style. And then there's a final book here, The Other Wind, if you can't read that. Again, a couple more stories and more illustrations by Charles Fess. And together they're all absolutely beautiful. They make a beautiful kind of set. Really, really impressed with them. And they're very, very important to me because they're early stories that influence my writing. It's about mages and magic and creativity, which is all very important to me as a fantasy writer. The next two books are by an author who's fairly new to me. I've only discovered them in the last couple of years based upon a recommendation by someone. I tried a couple of her books and I really, really enjoyed them. And this is Ursula Vernon, or when she's writing under a pen name, T. Kingfisher. And I've got a couple of the Broken Binding special editions that they've done. Most recently the Thornhedge, which is a retelling of a fairy tale to do with a princess in a tower, and House of Good Bones. And obviously you can see they've got the lovely sprayed edges on the side, lovely beautiful end papers inside as well, and of course they've got great kind of foil embossed covers too. Really, really beautiful artifacts. And I think ebooks are important and they're useful and they're handy, and audiobooks are great for travelling. But I love the physical thing of having a book. I love the fact that they're physical artifacts again. And you know, vinyl has gone away and now it's come back in. It's a collector's thing. And I think books in some regards are moving that way too, with special editions of beautiful books that don't have to cost the earth, that can be reasonably priced. And I love seeing some of these books and having them on my shelf and actually read them. I don't just sit and stare at them. These are books that I will take down and read. A favourite science fiction series of mine over the last probably 10 years, I watched the TV show and I've read the books in parallel, is The Expanse by James S.A. Corey. I think the books are amazing and I really, really love the TV show. For Christmas I just got the 9th volume and also the 10th, unofficial 10th volume, which is all of the collections of the short stories and novellas that we've had set within the world of The Expanse that they put out, and this is collecting them. However, they also did a special edition of the first book, Leviathan Wakes, and this was put out by Orbit Books themselves. Beautiful kind of bright pink block sprayed edges there, and the foiling. The end papers are incredible because you've got the map of the solar system within the book and it just looks absolutely gorgeous. And then of course on the outside of the book you've got the beautiful foiling there with the Rocinante in shadow, the kind of silhouette of the book, of the ship coming across one of the planets, probably Mars I would guess. But it's really, really special book. I'm really, really pleased with this. Now unfortunately we don't know if Orbit are going to do any more and do the rest of the series. Oh, the inside of the reversible cover as well, I guess, is this image which is actually the artwork that was used on the front of the paperback edition. So they've kept the full artwork too, so you can see it there. Now, I don't know if they're going to do any more special editions of these from Orbit in hardback. It's a big ask, I guess, and this was the kind of, I think it was the 10th anniversary, that's why they did it. But I'd love to see them do the rest of the series and give them this kind of specialist treatment, because it's a fantastic series of books. The next few are actually Broken Binding special editions, but they all came around in very different ways. So the first is the Lost War by Justin Lee Anderson. Now, Justin was the winner of the self-published fantasy blog off SBFBO. He recently won this during the voting. Everybody votes on it, and then the top one of the books gets selected. He had previously self-published The Lost War. It's the first in a 4-book series. And based upon him winning SFBO, he was then picked up by Orbit Books and traditionally published. And in association with Orbit Books and the Broken Binding, they then produced this special edition. So lovely green, bright green, block sprayed edges in a hardback. And the second book has just come out as well. It's been published through Orbit, and there's the Broken Binding special edition, and this is the Bitter Crown. Lovely orange, and then the block sprayed edges there. I've read the first book, really interesting. It's not a spoiler to say that there's a huge twist in this book that no one really sees coming, but it changes the whole course of the rest of the series. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next. Now that I know what the twist is, now that I've read this first book and my view of everything has changed, how's it going to change going forward in the rest of this series? So really interested to see what happens next with the characters and the world that's completely changed based upon what I now know. I also realised I haven't actually talked about this. My own books, I've done videos before talking about different ones. For my latest novel, The Judas Blossom, that came out, we did a hardback special with the Broken Binding. There were 1,000 of those produced. There are only a handful left. However, we also did 52 lettered editions that came in a slipcase, and haven't really shown these off anywhere. So this is my copy as the author. I get one copy, and you can see it's in beautiful slipcase here, and the design is slightly different. So there's the naked cover on the front, and on the back you can see the sprayed edges as well are completely different to any other sprayed edges for this book, and it's got unique artwork that we had commissioned for this from a Persian artist, and you can see it in there. It's absolutely beautiful book. I get number 1, or a copy, A to Z twice for the 52 letters. And this is it. They sold out in seconds when it went on sale. So these are kind of as rare as hen's teeth, but they're absolutely beautiful, and I'm so glad that we're able to get one of these produced. As the world of fantasy fiction and publishing grows more diverse, we have more voices coming in from other places, giving a fresh perspective on the world, and also exposing us to different ideas and thoughts and mythology that we're less familiar with. So I'm very pleased that Head of Zeus picked up this book by Gaurav Mohanty, and it has now been published, and Sons of Darkness is the first in his new series, and the Broken Binding have done this special edition. 2,000 of these with beautiful sprayed edges on there, and I can show you the artwork inside. The end papers is really nice, and it's really just kind of beautiful. Again, it's a beautiful artifact to have to hold on your hand, and the foiling on the front and obviously on the back too. So I'm really interested to read this because it's from a brand new author whose view of the world is totally different to mine. Different mythologies, as I've said, exciting new voice from the Indian subcontinent, and I hope to see more like Gaurav's books coming out, because we've had lots of books from the West. Now we're getting inspiration and influences from the East and other parts of the world. So looking forward to seeing that and reading it hopefully this year. The last special edition that I want to talk about today is one that I've had for a few years. As I may have mentioned in the past, Dune by Frank Herbert is my favourite science fiction book of all time. There's just something special about it that captured me when I read it as a teenager, and I've read it again over the years a few times, and I absolutely love it. So a few years ago, the Folio Society, who specialise in doing hardback and beautiful artwork editions of books, they did one for Dune, and I had to pick it up. It was quite expensive, but it was an investment, and as I said, because it's my favourite, I was willing to purchase it. So this is the hardback slipcase edition of Dune. It's absolutely incredible. beautiful cover, and also what they've done inside, if I can show you, obviously got the end papers with the maps, but they've also got a number of artwork that they commissioned for the book with beautiful paintings that have not existed before. And it really makes this such an incredible artifact and such an incredible book. And I was so glad to see it. This one probably isn't one that I will read. I do look through it. I do hold it, but I've got a ratty old paperback that I will actually use and read rather than reading this thing. But it's something that I wanted to have on my shelf. It's something that I wanted to look at and be able to have in my possession because it means so much to me. They have recently done a follow-on. The Folio Society have done the next book in the Dune series as a hardback, so that's something I may look at getting in the future. Maybe ask for a Christmas or birthday present or something like that. But these are just some of the special editions that I have. I've got other special editions as well, more from the Broken Binding and one or two other kind of first editions. Like I have a first edition of a David Gemmell book because, as I've said before, he's my favourite fantasy of all time. Apparently today's word is artifact. I've now said it so many times it just kind of sounds weird. So I'm going to stop saying it. I'm going to stop talking. But I'll be back very soon with another video.